Welcome to the Workology Podcast, a podcast for the disruptive workplace leader. Join host Jessica Miller-Merrill, founder of Workology.com, as she sits down and gets to the bottom of trends, tools, and case studies for the business leader, HR, and recruiting professional who is tired of the status quo. Now here's Jessica with this episode of Workology.
In this special episode of the Workology podcast, we're talking about all things women in HR technology. This is a special episode dedicated and devoted to women who work in the human resources technology industry. In this episode, we are talking to three very impressive and very different women who work in HR tech. You'll hear about their career, their work, and how they are leaning in to support other women in our industry. A special thank you to our sponsor, Clear Company. Our first woman in this Women in Tech episode is Jean Achille. Jean operates Devon PR as a strategic consultancy focused on helping ascending brands meet their sales, marketing, and PR potential. One of her areas of expertise is human resource technology. Jean is also the program chair of the Women in HR Technology Conference. Jean, welcome to the Workology podcast.
Jessica, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me as your guest today.
Of course. Well, let's talk about your career in human resources. How did you get here?
Well, probably a little bit differently than most of your listeners. I did start my career as a recruiter, and I had a really plum assignment, though. It was at the United States Merchant Marine Academy, so that is one of the service academies. And of course, the candidates that I was representing were much sought after. So it was a plum assignment in recruiting. It wasn't like I was scrounging and scouring LinkedIn looking for candidates to put forth. But I stuck with that for a few years and then decided to try my hand at a few other things. So my career took me into sales and marketing. And then I re-entered the HR industry, albeit with an HR technology vendor, and went on from there to go into product management at Ceridian, and eventually started Devon, very much leveraging the experience I had at the confluence of what HR needs and what technology can provide.
And how long has Devon been in existence?
Well, 24 years now, which is so hard to believe because it feels like yesterday that I started. And, I really started it out of frustration. I had been at sitting across the table from many professional services firms over the years. I saw a lot of broken workflows, and I especially looked at PR and said, wow, there's definitely better ways to do this. I'm going to give this a try. And this is where it does sound really dated, but, it was right around the time when the web was becoming commercialized. So all of a sudden we had the universe open up to us, and we were moving from paper to technology, and we were able to access everything online. So it was an ideal time to start a new business and reimagine what marketing and public relations could be like.
Well, you guys continue to do a great job. I mean, I see your work everywhere, and I will be seeing your work here in a few weeks, and I've been asking everyone, or I will be asking everyone, what they're working on now, which I think I know, but I'd love to hear what you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, I have the good fortune of wearing two hats at the HR Technology Conference. So we are actually the show's public relations agency and have been for many, many years. And of course, we're so excited by its growth. Years ago, we would have perhaps 300 attendees. Now we have more than 450 exhibitors and thousands of attendees. So that trajectory is and continues to be very exciting. But concurrent to that, I'm also, as you mentioned in the intro, the program chair for the Women in HR Technology Summit. And that's been a very exciting assignment because it's given me the opportunity to leverage my background in technology and also tap my network of very impressive women in the industry and bring together a program that I think is going to add value to our attendees.
You kind of already answered my next question, which is what are you doing to shine a spotlight? But I'd like to know why. Why are you the chair, or what made you want to be a part of the Women in HR Technology Summit?
Oh boy. Well, as you can probably tell, my career doesn't span years, it spans decades. So I have clawed my way up the ladder, let's say, both on the client side of business and also as a woman entrepreneur. And so I'm painfully aware of what it means to be a powerless demographic in the workplace. And so one of my give back moments that is pervasive in my DNA is to show other women and hopefully teach other people how to treat you. What is totally unacceptable, such as a variance in pay when there's a gender pay gap, that's totally unacceptable. Creating awareness. And some of that goes to just telling people what is not acceptable to say. You can't talk to me like that, or that's not professional. That's not how I roll. Let's revisit this. And just teaching other women who are coming up in their career how to speak up and how to create awareness.
Well, I love that. Can you talk a little bit more about when the Women in HR Technology Summit is for those that are interested in maybe attending or learning more?
Absolutely. So we are the opening day of the conference, which is Tuesday, September 11. We are, of course, co-located at the conference, the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, and we have a very robust program with very impressive speakers. So I'm hoping that your listeners will consider joining us.
Well, I would love them to come and join us, and we will have more information for them where they can go and maybe snag a discount at the end of this podcast interview. So I had one more question, not that anyone would I think everyone knows you in the industry, but if someone was like, Jean, where can we go to learn more about you and find out about Devon PR and your background?
Well, we are and always have been extremely social, as you might expect from by nature of our business. I'm on LinkedIn as Jean, Jeanne, Achille, Achille, and I'm always eager to hear from folks. So anyone who wants to send an email to jean@devonpr.com, I would welcome the inbound.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
My pleasure.
Our next Women in Tech interview is Beth White. She stepped away from a career in human resources and has returned to the space not as a practitioner, but as a HR tech founder in the form of a chatbot. Her chatbot offers messaging and artificial intelligence. It's called MeBeBot. Beth, welcome to the Workology podcast. Beth, let's talk a little bit about your career in HR. How did you get here?
I actually began my career in HR working in employee benefits and recruiting. I helped to hire a number of different people in the restaurant industry and saw a lot of transition and change within that timing and space. And when I moved to Austin, Texas in the late 90s, it was at the beginning of the whole .com, bubble. And I had an opportunity to go into a number of different software startups and .com companies and be that first solo HR person and really set the tone of the company culture, everything from the employee handbook to recruiting strategies to how we retain employees. So I've had exposure to all facets and areas of the HR space. I've purchased technology over the years and have used a lot of different types of products and really kind of grew my career to a point where I, felt like I was at a turning point, and I transitioned into actually selling software. And so I sold software for a number of years, having become pretty tech savvy with the HR technologies, and had a great run at that. Took a little life break and rode my bike as a cycling tour guide and took people on awesome vacations all around the world. And during that time, I realized there was not a lot of change in the HR technology space to really keep up to some of the advancements that were underpinning some unique technology solutions like chatbots. And I looked at how valuable chatbots and messaging tools are to interact with people, especially in different time zones, at different hours, and remote workers. And so I thought, I wonder how we could leverage this type of technology to work into the HR space and close some of those gaps that I think occur between all the different disparate technology systems and what employees and HR need to do on a daily basis.
I love your background in HR. I love that you took time off of work to kind of get some perspective and enjoy life and try something new. And then I also love that you have experience in tech, not just in HR, but in other areas, including sales, which I think is like a triple threat.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, it is a unique background, but I think it has allowed me to really have the right perspective to begin a company that services the needs of HR professionals as I really understand their pain points. I understand the technologies that they truly utilize today and how we can make that experience a little bit better.
So let's talk about what you're working on now. Walk us through MeBeBot and what it is and maybe just some insights into how it works.
Sure. When I mentioned to you that when you have lots of time to ride a bike, you have lots of time to think and generate ideas. And in technology, it does move very fast. And what I think has been really unique about where we are today is the way we choose to communicate. Communication methods have changed. We use a lot of chat and messaging. And what I realized is through the generational changes, communication methods are going to be advanced. However, a lot of the tools that HR practitioners use today don't really take advantage of some of the commonly used tools of various generations like messaging and texting. I came across some really unique chatbots in interacting while I was traveling and overseas and having to deal with business on different hours. And I thought, wow, this is really helpful. I'm able to get access to information at any time, anywhere in the world. How could we take this type of technology and apply it to HR? And that's really when the HR TalkBot was born. It was with the idea in mind that HR professionals are very busy, employees have lots of needs and have questions that they want to get answered. But in today's ecosystem of HR technology, there's a lot of different tools and systems that are in play, and finding information can be more challenging. Chatbot messaging technology allows you to leverage natural language processing and machine learning on a platform of artificial intelligence, and in split nanoseconds can deliver information to employees quickly and efficiently, and really does help free up some of the HR time to do more strategic and value-adding work toward business.
I love that because I do feel like that in my HR career, you have those kind of same questions over and over again that seem to suck up all your time, and it keeps you from doing maybe more strategic or other activities that could really bring more value to the organization.
Exactly. I think that's really kind of the goal with the HR TalkBot is to empower employees to be able to access that information on their own. And when they do interact with HR, hopefully it's on the level of talking about their career path and how, they can build their future within an organization and allow HR time to do market analysis on compensation and to put in place some really cool culture activities and work on that employee engagement without being in the weeds of the day-to-day administrative types of tasks.
What are you doing to shine a spotlight on other women in the industry?
Well, that's a great question because as an HR practitioner for many years and as someone who's worked in the sales of technology, I do see that women in the technology space and especially in founding businesses is rare. And what's even more surprising is the amount of funding that's being given to women in technology who have ideas. It's about 4% of women are funded compared to men in most startup type situations. So what I'd like to do is really try to change that statistic, and I'm working with different organizations to try to make more impact for funding women-owned businesses, as well as just offering time to other women who are starting businesses, collaborating. Maybe you're not able to be part of their business, but giving a little micro help to each other, to support each other, because I think women really do that well. We like to support and empower each other, and we can do it financially through our time, through our connections and network. And I think if all of us just dedicate a little bit more time to doing that, I think we'd move the ball forward.
I agree. Well, where can we go to learn more about you and the HR Talkbot and MeBeBot?
Our website is mebebot.com. It's MEBEBOT.com. And you can find great information on our site about how MeBeBot works and how it could be a benefit to your organization. Myself, I'm on LinkedIn. My name is common, Beth White. But if you search for Beth White and MeBeBot, you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today, Beth.
Thanks so much, Jessica, for having me.
This podcast has been sponsored by Clear Company, a complete talent management platform that unifies recruiting, onboarding, performance management, and goal tracking into one award-winning solution. Visit clearcompany.com for product information.
Our next Women in Tech interview is with Mandy Chan. She has an impressive background in HR tech, working for a number of innovative human resources technology companies in a variety of roles. At present, Mandy works for Entry, an emerging AI-powered HR technology designed to give candidates a strategic edge in getting seen and hired, while giving the employers an opportunity to get to view the whole candidate. Mandy, welcome to the Workology podcast.
Thank you very much, Jessica.
Let's talk a little bit about your career. How did you get here in the human resources technology space?
You know, I honestly happened upon the HR tech space. During college, I worked full time, and I happened to be a floater at Targus, where you probably have had a computer bag or mouse before. And I actually worked in the HR department, and one of my jobs was to post jobs on GoJobs. And when it was time for me to transition out of that role, I actually happened to find a job at GoJobs. It just goes on from there. Really, the secret to my growth over my career is as simple as I never stopped asking questions, and I never stopped asking for what I thought I deserved. So I think a lot of times as women, we might hold ourselves back from that, but I've always been a student of whatever it is that I do, from sports to anything work. I always want to learn more, and I've always had a pretty good handle on how that equates to my value to a company. So I think I kind of prescribe to that belief of don't ask, don't get. So I've certainly done a lot of asking to get to where I am.
I like that. Don't ask, don't get. And also, I'm a fellow Target alumni, so it is definitely, I think, prepared me for a lot of different opportunities. So good for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what you're working on now.
Yes, I'm very excited about this current project. So I've taken on a role as EVP of Business Development and User Acquisition at Entry. Entry is a startup. It's a disruptive AI-powered HR tech, as you mentioned, and we really focus on bridging the gap and fixing some of the problems that exist today in the hiring process. So, it's a lot of times you hear about the candidate black hole, and candidates are frustrated and never hearing back. On the opposite end of the fence, you hear hiring managers are just bombarded with hundreds, if not thousands, of applications for every job, and yet we still have misconceptions on all sides of the fence. Hiring managers, at 79% of hiring managers said there aren't enough qualified candidates applying to posted positions. Yet you have all of these candidates saying, well, I never hear back. Did my application go through? And unfortunately, the stat is that only 25% of them actually ever get seen, because we've implemented this filter, this roadblock in between to try to make it easier for the recruiters and hiring managers, that being the ATS and filters, which is absolutely needed. But unfortunately, when you scrub out some of the unqualified candidates, some of these filters are too broad and filter out qualified candidates as well. And due to simple things such as formatting errors and whatnot in the resume. So we're trying to tackle all sides of this coin, starting with the resume piece. And we've built a proprietary hybrid resume. So it actually looks great. And to the naked eye, it looks just like another beautiful, professional, stylized resume. But behind the scenes, it's actually specifically formatted to be parsed easily through the applicant tracking system and give that candidate a chance of being seen. And then the other piece of it is trying to bridge the gap. In hiring, we're not just looking for skills. I know we've talked about this before, Jessica, but culture really plays a part in it, your personality type. There's so many factors at play. 89% of hiring failures are due to a poor cultural fit. So it'd be silly not to add that component to the job search and try to make sure we're connecting candidates with jobs that not only are they qualified for from a skills perspective, but also from culture and personality within that team and that company.
Awesome. This is much needed in the space. Candidates are frustrated and employers are frustrated too. So I love that you're using the AI to maybe help bridge the gap and make it easier for the two parties to connect with each other and find their perfect match.
Amen. Yes, that's the goal.
Let's talk about some of the work that you're doing to shine a spotlight on other women in the industry, because I find this awesome. So talk about what you're doing there.
Well, thank you. With the help of Peter Weddle, the CEO of TA Tech, our industry association, I founded Women in TA Tech. It's a lean-in circle for women in the space. It was interesting because the initial intent was just to build a community of support. And that was the starting goal. And in all honesty, I wasn't sure how many women would be interested. And I believe Lean In actually recommends that your circles be no more than 5 to 10 people. Well, we've got about 120, which is great. So there's definitely that interest. And so what we do is we meet on a monthly basis. We have a conference call, sometimes with video, sometimes without, depends on how everyone's feeling, because, we're distributed across the whole U.S. And we actually, for the last year and a half that it's been running, we've had some women over in Europe as well. And so that's actually growing. And Peter just announced that they founded Women in TA Tech Europe. So it's a little hard to work out the time zone differences. But, nevertheless, the mission and the goal is to help women in this space know that there is a community of support. They have a network of people who are there to answer questions. A lot of times it just comes down to having that it's not just me moment. I've had it in my career, right, where I've second-guessed myself. I've thought, I can't really do that. I can't take that next level. I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. And you talk to other people and they say, no. Don't hold yourself back. That's part of our problem. So just bridging that gap and having that communication and supporting one another is huge. And then part of it is our involvement with TA Tech, the association itself. So as you may have heard, I'll be moderating the keynote panel at our fall Congress, where Women in TA Tech is essentially hosting that panel. And we're going to be talking to a variety of different experts about how we tackle bias in our process, products, and technology. So again, trying to shine a light on the fact that this is a problem. We need to have greater gender diversity and, frankly, overall diversity within the industry. And you don't get there without talking about it and without working together to solve these problems.
Awesome. Well, I love that you're doing this, and I think that you're helping so many women who are looking to not feel so alone and have that support and just a friend that they can talk to in the space. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about where people can go to learn more about you and the work that you're doing. in the HR tech space with Entry and then also with the Lean In Circle?
Absolutely. LinkedIn's probably the best place to go at the moment. That or the Women in TA Tech Circle. I can provide those links to you as well. But my LinkedIn profile, I usually make sure any and all articles or updates on what I'm doing or any events or anything like that usually get posted there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and I can't wait to see you at the TA Tech Fall Congress.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. NOLA, right?
Significantly more businesses around the world, 75% in 2018 versus 66% in 2017, now have at least one woman on their senior management team. But the proportion of the team that is female has slipped from 25% to 24%, according to Grant Thornton's Women in Business report. Also, according to research by 99 Designs, male entrepreneurs were twice as likely to raise $100,000 or more of outside funding for their startups than female entrepreneurs. It's time to start shining a spotlight and coming together to support women in human resources technology, which is kind of weird when you think about this industry, which is predominantly female driven. HR professionals account for more than 75% of practitioners in the human resources space. And that is the reason why I decided to shine a spotlight on women in HR tech. Thank you for joining the Workology podcast, sponsored by Clear Company. This podcast is for the disruptive workplace leader who's tired of the status quo. This is Jessica Miller-Merrill. Until next time, visit Workology to listen to all our previous podcast episodes.
At Workology, we're making HR learning and recertification simple with Learn, our on-demand learning platform providing 24/7 access to pre-approved HRCI and SHRM courses. Visit workology.com/learn to find out more. And use the discount code PODCAST to save 20% off your membership. Production services for the Workology podcast with Jessica Miller-Merrill provided by TotalPicture.com.